Hello, everyone, and welcome to Snap Take. This is Glazer of Snap Judgments, the official podcast of Marvel Snap Zone. Today, we're going to go over everything you need to know about opening for Sersi. In addition, we're going to talk about Miek and Phoenix Force, along with all of the decks you could possibly need for all of these cards. So if you're interested, please check that out. Before we go to those cards, I always like to start each video with giving you at least one new deck. And honestly, because we did two videos that weren't new decks in a row, I've got a whole pile of decks. So get ready for an exciting Wednesday as well of brand new top-notch decks. But this is Lufku 9's Eternal Winter. This is a really, really cool list that the great Lufku has been playing and winning with. This is probably my favorite Gilgamesh list right now. It's this or the Thanos deck from yesterday's video that I actually enjoy Gilgamesh in. It's been rarer than I'd like that I've liked the card, but this is a really exciting use of the card. I know that this is a lot of high series cards, but an awful lot of them are replaceable. You're going to need 3 high series cards here. I mean, I guess technically 4 high series cards here. You need Kitty, you need Sasquatch or Mockingbird. You can do with just one, and Jeff, and unfortunately the replacement for Elsa is another high series card. It's Hope. Sasquatch or Mockingbird can be Shang-Chi. You're going to lose a bit there, but Shang is so good that you'll probably still be okay. Nebula can be Sunspot or Nightcrawler. Athena can be Bishop. And White Widow can be Cable or Quake, depending on if you want to play it early or late. Cool. That is the replacements for this deck. Then here is the specific play patterns. Turn 1, you would like to get down Nebula. Nebula down turn 1 is basically the only turn you really want to play the card, although you will play it as an extra 1 sometimes on turn 3 or 4 for Athena buff. Other than that, she's not super amazing. She is kind of annoying for opponents who are trying to play Professor X, so she does have that extra value, but those decks are playing Kitty Pryde, so it goes up, it goes down. Turn 2 is Angela or Athena. Basically, I'm playing Athena if I have a 2+1 turn 3. Otherwise, Angela, it doesn't super matter which you play first. When you have both, you're probably playing both. Obviously, both are significantly better if you have Kitty Pryde. Those are better than White Widow or Jeff. Now, White Widow is really, really great with Nebula, and that will usually make it go above Jeff on my personal play pattern. And Jeff is just great. You're not sad to get Jeff down. I prefer to hold Jeff till later. You can also Mysterio if you're going to Sasquatch. Is your corner of the meta seeing a lot of Mobius right now? If so, Mysterio to Sasquatch is your priority on turn 2. Turn 3 is a 2+1 Athena. Elsa if you have Angela, Widow, or Jeff. And Sasquatch if you played Mysterio. So turn 4 is almost always 2/2s, but if you ended up, your 2+1 after Athena ended up being Mysterio, because not that Mysterio would trigger Athena, by the way, but then you're going to want to go Mockingbird or Sasquatch. If you already got Sasquatch down, Mockingbird is totally fine here, especially if you can play Mockingbird and a 1. But usually you're going to play drop 2/2s here. The second of those 2s, if possible, being Mysterio, lets you sort of go off on turn 5, which is perfectly fine if that's what you decide to do. Blue Marvel is your general regular turn 5 play, but you can also play a 3 plus a 2. You've got quite a few 3s as options here. Ooh, sorry. You've got, I guess you don't have quite a few 3s. I totally had the wrong thing in my head. It is Elsa or it is 2/2s on this turn. You don't, generally speaking, you'll have Athena out at this point, so you'd rather play 2/2s. But if one is Mysterio, then you can just sort of play all 3 because, again, Mysterio is 3 plays and not going to trigger Athena. But that's going to let you go Mockingbird and Sasquatch to end the game, which is a nice 19 power. But if you've been playing well, your Gilgamesh is going to be 12-ish power, so you just go Gilgamesh and Kitty at the end of the game. This deck puts out a lot of power. It doesn't fill every spot on the board, so Cannonball is threatening but not deadly, and this has a really good matchup with basically anything. Oh god, I didn't tell you what to replace Gilgamesh with. I'm so sorry. Gilgamesh is totally replaceable in all these decks, kind of with Iron Man. Iron Man's actually safer in a Cannonball meta than Gilgamesh. I'm not sure that Gilgamesh is ever actually that much better than just running frickin' the Iron Man. Cool, so far so good. All right, let's keep going with our new card. But first, I got to tell you about the stream team. This is a bunch of our streamer friends streaming the decks from this very video, including that last one. So today is Tuesday, so Prashaun at noon Eastern will be playing. These decks. Also, Newman is at 9 a.m. Eastern for Thursday and Saturday of this week, so check it out. All right, time to talk Sersi. Sersi is a 5/7, Series 5, 6,000 tokens. Transform your other cards here into random cards that cost 1 more if able. Cool. So releasing this week is this Sersi. I'm going to give you the TLDR right now. Sersi is at worst amazing with Annihilus and probably good in many other places. The only variant we get of Sersi that we can buy is this casual variant that comes out in a week. I'll probably be buying it just because I think this base art is like terminally ugly and I'm not opening for a spotlight of her. But yeah, feels like a librarian, but hey, nothing wrong with that. Okay. The other cards in Spotlight Cache, the other Spotlight variants, for those of you who decide what to buy based on the look. This Sersi chucking apples like she's throwing them at Miek. That is a Kafka reference for anyone who gets it. Let me know in the comments if you do. But that is Sersi chucking apples. Fine, great, whatever. We have Miek as a 1-0. Again, we'll break down Miek and Phoenix Force later. I'm debating opening for this Phoenix Force. I think I'm probably going to skip it. I don't really need this Phoenix Force. I have like 3 or 4 Phoenix Forces at this point. But these are the 3 cards in Spotlight Caches. It's worth noting that Sersi is probably good, and my theory here is they tend to put really good Series 5 cards reasonably often with sort of undesirable Series 4 cards, or cards that they expect most people to have. Miek is a Series 4 card and always has been, while Phoenix Force is a former Season Pass card. So the assumption is long-term players would have those, which means if you open, you're very likely only opening for Sersi, and usually when they do that, since they want to make all the caches every week exciting, means Sersi is probably going to be really good. All right. Generally speaking, people are thinking of her as a combo card to do all sorts of weird things. I just think of her as a big stat stick. Generally speaking, if you go up 1 cost, you're going to make more powerful cards, as you can tell from the game's vanilla stat lines. We have like 1-2 as Misty, 2-3 as Shocker, then 3-4 as Cyclops. These are all going to need to be updated. But 4-6 as Thanos, so as 5-9 as Abomination, and 6-12 as Hulk. So like it's obviously not going to turn into the baseline stats, but the idea is that as you move up in the cost curve, each thing gets more stats, which means that she is going to give you some really good stats. She can, however, get some dangerous cards. You are not especially likely to get these dangerous cards, but the dangerous cards are MODOK, Hellcow, and the other discard cards. You generally speaking don't want them. Hellcow cannot be a big deal. Like a Swordmaster is good enough stats to sometimes not be a big deal. Sometimes they'll also ruin your life, though, even with that little discard. Venom, Carnage, Destroyer could also be dangerous, the various Destroy cards. She can also get some useless stuff, where she gets a Surfer with no other 3s, or Morbius with no discard cards, or whatever. So, like, she's not always going to be great. She's going to be higher RNG, but your opponents, by staying in against a deck that's obviously running her, once we know what those decks are, is taking that same RNG chance you are. So that might mean that she gains more cubes than one would expect, but also loses more cubes than one would expect. Almost every other hit is good. Some great targets are for you to play on her are negative power cards like the Hood or the Void. The Void is especially good here, although MODOK is a 5. Good on reveals with low power like Electro, Jubilee, and White Widow, and tokeny stuff like Brood. Any of those are absolutely great targets for this card. I think dropping her on a Shauna lane is also pretty damn good. Eventually, 6s, well, in a couple of weeks, I guess, at the start of July, 6s that you play her on will become Arishem, and then if you play her on Arishem, it will become Death. Just so you know, that's the only 7 and 8 cost cards. On reveals for the new cards will happen, and she will not transform herself, just the other cards there. So you're hopefully, unless it's a Destroy card, getting at least 7 power in that lane. So this is the first deck we're going to talk about. We talk about Docty, the king of new Marvel Snap cards right now with the retirement of Drewberry. You need to be following Docty. Just type in Docty Snap. This is Docty's junk power. I think this is really cool. It's basically a zoo deck that runs Sersi to make your zoo stuff way bigger. And because we're trying to make zoo stuff bigger, it doesn't make an awful lot of sense to run Khazar, because some of our 1s will become 2s. But 2s are generally more stats than 1s, so that seems pretty freaking good. So if you can get a lane of like Squirrel, Mysterio clone, and Rock, and then you turn that into 2-2-3, you're pretty happy. You can, like, this is just good. And then if you drop Blue Marvel, you're really good, right? And like all these cards, as you change them, are going to make Mockingbird cheap. So Mockingbird should basically always be 0 in this deck. This seems really cool, so props to Docty for it. Also, if you're curious about what Series 4 and 5 cards to target, I should be on Docty's channel any minute now with a review, with a, tier list of all Series 4 and 5 cards. Next up, we have Unk's Ramp Sersi deck. Very cool. This one's basically saying Electro, Jubilee, White Tiger, Leech, those are bad stats. I'm either going to blink those or I'm going to Sersi them. And it seems like it's probably really good, right? Obviously, you would rather get Electro into like you play like Electro into Jubilee and then you Sersi in that lane, as long as you didn't get Red Hulk or Magneto and you're pretty damn happy. There's a million different ways to do this, but Sersi should be an absolutely insane amount of power for this list. I like the like lower curve stuff so that you have an early game and you have a late game with this. Thing of beauty is this one. So Anx Ramp Sersi should be very solid. Next up, Res Snapper is another person doing the buy or bust style video, which was the old Drewberry thing, using the Drewberry style thumbnails and everything else. This is a on reveal thing. So basically, you can walk in Sersi and get yourself a 6 if you want. You can also just drop a Sersi on the Brood, a Sersi on the Shauna, whatever you would like. If you do that on turn 5, you can Sersi another lane on turn 6 with Absorbing Man, which seems really good. This is sort of like a greedy deck, and it's all in, but it seems really cool, and I'm excited to give this a try. Next up, I decided that like I wanted Patriot because I'm running Brood and Sinister in this style of list. And if I want Patriot, I want Mockingbird. I've got Mysterio, so I can make myself a cheap Sasquatch, right? Or a cheap Mockingbird with my Mysterio, my Brood, so on. Sasquatch might be wrong here, actually, come to think of it. Whatever. But you can do the Sersi Absorbing Man thing in this list perfectly fine. You can also do the you can also just play a regular Brood Surf, like you can go Brood, Absorbing Man, Blue Marvel, and then you can go like probably free-ish Mockingbird, Surfer, Patriot, right? And be perfectly fine that way. There's a lot to like here. Nico being able to turn something into Demon or get Draw is why she's here. Again, I think Sasquatch is actually wrong here now that I think about it. I'm not sure what I'd want Sasquatch to be. Maybe even just like something silly like Monkey. But there is, no, that's not right either. What do I want this to be? Iron Lad. I guess it would have to be Iron Lad. So Sasquatch for Iron Lad. But this seems like a really cool list that I threw together while I was trying to figure out what this wanted to do. All right, RS Berry, hit near the top of the Infinite leaderboard with a deck based on this. It was running Black Knight and not Black Knight, Black Bolt and Stature. So I removed Black Bolt and Stature and basically added Sersi. You could win a Storm lane with Mysterio. You can Storm Sentry Annihilus, which remains a powerful combo. You just send the Void that way, and the opponent can't really do anything about it because the lane is locked at that point. You can Valkyrie that Void. You can Sersi that Void. There's just a million ways to deal with the nonsense with this deck and put out a ton of power in the meantime. I think this one's very, very likely to be a really, really powerful deck because who the hell, like, how do you play around Negasonic and Valkyrie and Annihilus and Sersi and everything else? It's possible this deck wants a Supergiant. Except we have Sentry Fairy. This is our friend Safety Blade, the #1 player in Marvel Snap last I checked, which was this morning. He's Rivals if you want to check the Infinite leaderboard. This is like the go-to list. This is like gonna be this stock bog standard list where you go Pixie Mobius and then you can just do all sorts of silly nonsense. Turning Pixie into a 3 seems really nice. Just don't want to do that in the same lane as Mobius. You have all sorts of cheap stuff to do, and then you have all the power of basically if you get anything with Pixie, you can win, while Nihilus and Sentry are so strong. I don't know for sure, but I believe, Sersi in a Professor X lane will still transform the cards because the lane's locked. It's not replacing them or sending them out. It's just saying this card is now something else, which I think would still happen. I could be wrong. But if that is the case, then this is where to start for like meta decks. Sersi Sarah Control. This is from the great Canadian Alfredo, another Marvel Snap Zone writer like Safety Blade and myself. This is basically saying, okay, well, if I'm playing my tech pieces early, right, I get an early Rogue, but I don't care about what it is. I've got that White Widow, I've got that early Killmonger or Red Guardian, and they're not great anymore. Well, let's drop Sersi on that. I can even do that at the end of the game. Sersi being a 4 after Sarah seems nice to play with like a Jeff and White Widow or a Jeff and Shadow King, that kind of thing. Very cool list. Again, something that seems, or even Mobius is useless at the end of the game and can become a 4. So this seems like a good way to turn Sersi's stuff into power. I'm not sure if I want Doom in this list, but otherwise I really like it. I think you only want one card that's higher cost than Sersi. Next up, we have Sersi Blade. This is another safety special. This is Safety has the One Piece, which is his Namora deck, and Slayer Blade, which is his, like the deck you've seen everywhere, the Professor X Cannonball Ravonna deck that he invented, that everyone on Earth is now playing. This sort of looks to mix the two and say, well, Sersi, right? Because I've got White Tiger, and I can turn White Tiger into a 7, or at least a 6 here. I can turn my Iron Heart into a 4 if I've got nothing else going on. Nightcrawler, Echo, etc. There's just a lot to like here. I think this one is really cool, and Sersi is very likely to fit in this deck. This deck is like the very borderline of meta. I think basically the instant Professor X is gone. This is one of the best decks in the game. Whether Sersi belongs in it or not, we'll have to wait and see. All right, so does Sersi look good? It's hard to imagine her being bad. I cannot imagine this being a bad card. She's going to be easy to misplay, and it's a new ability. We'll know how good it is soon. I expect it to be at least good. Annihilus decks will want her. I think she is just straight up better than Deathstrike or Valkyrie in those decks. She sounds like she's a wait and see card until Friday, because every card is a wait and see card until Friday, unless you need those other cards. So let's start by talking about Phoenix first. Series 4, 3000 token, a former season pass card, 4/5. On reveal, revive one of your destroyed cards and merge with it. That card can move each turn. Phoenix Force has been almost meta several times. It just took a really big hit, which is obnoxious right before the spotlights. The Phoenix used to have all sorts of like expert gameplay. As anyone who's seen the Jeet document, Jeet made a whole document about all the tricks to Phoenix Force. It was a borderline meta card, and it was really, really great for experts. But they changed the way move works in Marvel Snap in the last patch, where move always happens first, and a lot of the way it used to work is now dead, and I think Phoenix Force might be dead because of it, which royally sucks, because it was a super fun combo deck. The first thing we're going to look at here is the JD Mac Phoenix Force, which is basically saying I can make my big torch, I can make multiple men, or I can do some combo shenanigans with Deadpool. And either way that works, you get a decent amount of power that way, and then Cannibal can win you a game. Very cool, very powerful list from our friend JD McDonaldino. Did I just share the same deck twice? Go me. All right, there's a million other Phoenix Force decks, but the other main one is it runs it basically runs all the cards you would need for Phoenix Force. I'm just gonna tell you it because I have that list memorized. So it runs Ghost Spider, Nico, Human Torch. Then it runs Carnage, Venom, Multiple Man, and Deathlock. And then it runs Shuri, Arnim Zola, and Nimrod. So that's the one that I accidentally didn't copy in. It'll be in the link to this video. But the Shuri, Nimrod, Zola combo, basically you go Shuri, Nimrod if you don't see your Phoenix Force stuff, and then you eat it twice with your Deathlock, Carnage, Venom stuff, and then you win the game. So, like, there's a lot of ways to win. That is the other main list. That one has a swing spot that can be Cannibal, Goliath, Shang-Chi, or Cannibal, Goliath, Shang-Chi, or Taskmaster. All right, our second spotlight card is Miek. Miek is a 1/0. When you discard a card, this grants +1 power and can move next turn. Miek's a lot of power. Decent little card. Not in my favorite discard list at the moment, but it can easily fit in a good discard deck. We don't have a million different discard decks. This is the Discard Dracula that our friend Den put together. It is like the bog standard version. Miek is often cut for cards like Lady Sif or Gambit in this list, so you have something to do on 3 when you don't have the glaive, but like that's fundamentally the whole difference here. Otherwise, this deck is bog standard. Again, Miek is fine in this list, but don't feel like it's a requirement to play discard. The only other deck that Miek goes in is this kind of weirdness. This is an Ordinary High special, where it's like a Loki Hela deck, because Helicarrier can fill your hand, and if you get Loki, then you can turn them all into other cards. Or you can just make a big collector with Helicarrier. I don't know. This list is very, very cool, but super janky. So again, like there's only one real home for Miek. It's this one. This is just like a cool janky thing to try if you get the card and want to do something different. So should you open this week? Miek is good, but discard works without it, so you don't need Miek. Don't open for Miek. Phoenix is an archetype, but it got way worse with the move change. But it's at least its own archetype and a fun deck, and you can't play without Phoenix Force. So if you want Phoenix Force, it's hard to blame you. It's really cool and really interesting. So if you decide to try it, know that it's not as good as it was, and you're not learning as many cool nuances, but it's still a powerful card. Sersi looks really good. If no more Professor X Ball, Annihilus will be back as one of the best decks, and Sersi will go in that deck. So she should be great in Annihilus, and the OTA is Thursday. Now quickly, worth knowing, in Thursday's video here on the channel, so please hit that sub button, hit that like, hit that comment, help us out. But Thursday, we have a bunch of top players. I know the whole Top Infinite leaderboard, many of you are watching. Hello, friends. I will ask them, I will send them a message and say, give me your first impressions of Sersi. Top players tend to get new cards and test them, right? So they will all answer me and say, I think this. I will have a slide of different top players' opinions on Sersi that will help you make a decision. So unless you absolutely have to have it day one, there's no reason for that. You can wait till at least Thursday. However, Friday, it will synthesize all that information along with looking at the stats for the card, the publicly available stats, and give you the information of my first recommendation. Then Monday, everyone plays it a lot more over the weekend. Because it's weekend mission decks, I will have yet more information and give you a final recommendation in Monday's video. Friday, however, is when you want to buy it if you're going to buy it, generally speaking, for weekend mission decks, hence that suggestion where I give you weekend mission decks and that on Friday. So I wait until at least Friday to open this card, because while I'm pretty sure it's great, everyone was pretty sure War Machine was going to be great. And if you bought War Machine and not Cannonball, how do you feel right now? Wait till the end of the week. Question of the day, and then we outie. So our first question is Michael Yaguchi asked what the point of hyping the IGN announcement was. So I think they thought it was bigger than it was. It was a lot of stuff that game devs would like, right? Where it's like, we're gonna make the game a little better, and like they sold it wrong. Bluntly, if you watch the announcement, IGN screwed them. IGN not making them live when they were live instead doing like top 10 Mario was a giant nightmare. Hopefully they didn't give IGN too much money. IGN sucks. IGN has always sucked. They always get the biggest news and announcements, but they're like total shills. Sorry if you love IGN or something, but they're so bad. Check out Polygon for something similar that's not as obnoxious. Okay, so what they announced was really cool, but they sold it wrong, right? What they should have centered this on is we have our first new game mode. It's not going to be live all the time, but we plan for it to be live fairly regularly. And when we make it live, one of the things you can get is a free brand new card. That's right. We are giving you all Marvel Snap players. All you have to do is play this and try this new mode, a free card for trying it. That sounds an awful lot more exciting than what we got. They probably shouldn't have even done the roadmap. The roadmap is a bunch of weird stuff, like card collection upgrades and draft. I want to be excited for those, but those are on the farthest part of the roadmap, which means they may never even show up. So, like, the stuff I'd want to be most excited about is the stuff that's easiest to be disappointed about. They hyped it because they had something cool to say. We are giving you a free card for the first time since Kitty frickin' Pride over a year ago is great news. We are making the game cheaper by giving you one free card every so often, and we have a really cool new game mode. If that's all they said, people would be hyped. Although they should also have made the announcement closer to when this stuff is going live. Kazushi wants to know an artist who's hit or miss for me, and this is going to be a controversial answer, but Jim Lee. I love Jim Lee Bishop, but I hate Jim Lee like Jean Grey. I don't like a lot of Jim Lee stuff. I love Jim Lee. Jim Lee was like one of the pinnacle artists when I was very young. Like I was like 10, 11 when the first when he was taking over X-Men, and I thought he was like the cat's meow. But then I liked Whilce Portacio more. Like I liked a fair amount of the other Image early people more. Like I didn't like Spider-Man very much as a kid, but I thought McFarlane was cooler and more dynamic. I think Jim Lee is really good, but also very like he became everyone's house style, and I think he's a little overrated. Unless I love his variant, right? Because there's definitely some I love. All right, my Guiding Moonlight wants to know the difference between 2 and 3 lane decks, and you can tell by whether they're trying to go tall or wide. Cards like Doctor Doom go wide, right? Doctor Doom fits in decks that are trying to compete. And look, you want to try and win too, but you're putting pressure on all three with the Doctor Doom deck. Versus a Shuri Nimrod deck, which is trying to go Shuri Red Skull deck, which is trying to go really, really tall in 2 lanes. It's trying to say I've got 28 power in 2 lanes, and that's bigger than you, so I can win those two lanes that way. Basically, what you're looking at is there a bunch of mid-power stuff that wants to go wide, right? Like if you've got a bunch of 5-power cards, you probably want to spread them out to try and win, because even if you get all 4 in 1 lane, that's 20 power. That's not enough to like win necessarily, but it'll usually win one of the lanes. If you can get 20 power in all 3, sometimes you can steal that win. That's fundamentally what 3-lane decks do. Meanwhile, something like Bounce is going to go like 35 in 1 lane when it goes off, at like 32, 34, whatever in 1 lane, and then like low 20s in another, right? And try and win that way. And because it can choose where that low 20s is based on where your opponent wasn't competing, that's how it wins. How can you tell the difference between the two? You just have to sort of look at the power of the deck and infer, is this trying to go really big, or is it trying to go really tall? Good. Fat Nick asks for advice for new players. So my advice for new players is fundamentally A, buy the season pass, and B, don't worry about anything, just play. You will pick up the game through Series 1 and 2. Series 1 and 2 are an extremely curated new player experience built to teach you fundamentally everything you need to know. If I could recommend one person's new player content, it's Alex Kochia. Alex Kochia has amazing new player content. It's part of why he got so big. He is also an incredibly kind person that is worth checking out. We chatted earlier today. So Alex Kochia is my favorite new player person. Once you get into the meta and into Series 3, I think I do top-notch work. Cam does top-notch work. A bunch of people do. Prashaun is all over the place. So there's a bunch of really great players to check out. I can give you 50 more if you want. But for the starter, check out Alex Kochia's beginner content and just play the game and don't worry too much. Make sure you're buying the season pass and saving your resources up. Don't waste gold. Don't waste. Use all your credits to upgrade things as fast as you can, right? But don't waste gold. Save all your gold. Store all of your other resources as you climb. Certain tiers of support on our Patreon come with on-air thanks. We are going to say thank you to the great Abigail Gislam, Mandatory Burnout, Cables, Irregardless, and yes, that's a word, David G. Wingfield, Direwolf, hey Direwolf, Always Kind LAB, FaThorNewman, who you can check out on stream tomorrow playing our decks, Good Dog, tomorrow, Thursday, excuse me, Good Dog Gamer, awesome deck that we featured the other day, This Is the Way, all the way from Scotland, Ink, Hi Ink, Jay Navarrete, J.D. McDonaldino, who we featured a Phoenix deck from earlier, King of Questions, Kertix Lee, Koi Ray, all the way from Japan, Pyro Froze, hey Pyro, The Goat Seeker, who I now play all the time on ladder, Den Man Falcon, check him out on YouTube, Docty, Fat Nick, Docty insisted, Docty joined just so I can put his name right before Fat Nick, hi Docty, Doku, Ginger Prime, Philip Rakovich, hey Racco, Haplo, Kenny Loggins of the Danger Zone, the OG Rob Silverman, Notorious Bizza, X-Force V and Skippy G, Snap Judgments League 1 champion Tommy Nyquist, the King of Bros, Black Dahlia, the Great Kazoo, Jessica Gamble, hi Jess, Ryan Wood, Ryan, Kev C. Hoda, Luna Chris, Louis Antunes, Mod Supreme Models, Darth Tater, Raymond Satala, Brian Kaufman, Tristan H. Martin, The Fuzzy Dunlop, Spectrum Mix, great comment, thank you, Woo, Matt H., DJ Mikey Hijinks, No Frickin' Flex, Ocularis, Mr. Craig Sterry, Pretty Damn Chill, Seamus, who's all caught up, I think, maybe, Jonesy, Two Ties, who's deck hopping infinite last season, and who was the impetus for me talking to Alex earlier, the Pirate King Tuccrr, the Homie Min, and of course, Gunny T, where the T stands for tomorrow. I've got way too many decks to show you. Hit that sub button, hit that like, hit that comment, watch as long as you can. You know I'd appreciate it. See you later.